to introduce the panel, and the title of the panel is Affiliate Marketing's Role in Media Plans. We actually, in the subtitle, had attribution listed there. We're really going to focus on attribution and the value that it provides in understanding your media, your whole media mix. And when we start, I'd like to start with introductions, and I'll start from my left, and I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Kramer. I'm one of the founders of NetX. We're a digital agency based here in New York, and we've been managing affiliate programs and other online initiatives since 2001. And we deal a lot with these issues and have a lot of data around attribution and the value of affiliates. One of the things we also do is produce a research report called Affiliate Benchmarks, and we have about 8,000 affiliates and 500 merchants who have responded and giving us a lot of great data on a lot of this stuff.
My name is Todd Crawford. I'm a co-founder at Impact Radius. We're a performance-focused technology provider. So we provide advertisers and agencies technology to manage affiliates or other direct partners. We also have a tag management solution, a media measurement solution, and attribution. So we kind of sit in the middle of a lot of data and help both publishers, affiliates, and media partners, as well as advertisers and agencies understand the data that we can track and report to them.
Hi, my name is Scott Kalbach, and I'm the CEO and founder of an affiliate network called avonlink.com. We started in 2005. We're focused specifically on cost per sale affiliate marketing, and recently we've created a tracking and analytics platform called Avon Metrics that has some attribution reporting. It also has tag management functionality and multi-network, multi-channel deduplication.
And I'm Paul Schroader. My agency is PS Web Solutions, and I've been in internet advertising since '95 and affiliate specific since '99. Actually, Todd Crawford is one who introduced me to affiliate marketing, and you can see from the panel here that we've assembled a group of people that really understand the issues at hand, and I hope that you get some real value out of it. We're going to look at attribution, like I said, specifically, and so we'd like to start with just kind of setting the table, and this is going to be an open discussion, so when we get into the question and answer period, which is going to kick in early, we would really like to get the feedback from you guys. We're going to ask questions to discuss amongst the panel here, but if that generates other questions, then please feel free to step up to the mic and participate. Now, the definition of attribution is a model used to analyze consumer touchpoints across all media channels and attribute value to those sources. Now, when you do this, it actually brings up a number of different questions. Your customer, how many ads did they see? Over what period of time? How did those ads influence the conversion? And what were the actual costs of the conversion? Those are just some basic questions that attribution will bring up. When you're looking at all of your online media channels, you've got lots of possibilities out there, lots of things that you're participating in, and it can be really, really cluttered, I guess. And when you're looking at that, though, if you've dealt with attribution at all, then you're probably familiar with these types of images that are just conversion funnels. And at the root of it, you're looking at, awareness, interest, desire, and then action. And you probably have some form of this that you're working with if you're working with attribution at all. We wanted to walk through a conversion path scenario to start so you kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. But say you're at work and you're looking at something, you get a display ad and you say, hey, yeah, I like that backpack, that looks great. You visit the site and then you get distracted, come back and you say, okay, that was that backpack I wanted. You type in a paid search and you go there again, site visit number 2. Once again, you get distracted and then you get hit with the retargeting ad and you're like, okay, I got to get that backpack. Go back to the site and then you say, well, I got to consult my wife on this. So you go home and you work with your wife and say, okay, we got to get this backpack for Jimmy because he really needs it. You come to a comparison shopping engine. So you're looking at it and you're looking at it by price point. Then she says, well, you know what? This is my favorite coupon site. I'm going to go to that coupon site and I'm going to get a coupon on it. And then finally, after that one, you go back to the site and it converts. So there are a lot of steps that happened along that conversion path, and this is just one scenario of many. And so when you look at it, it can seem scary, but it's really not. There are things that are much scarier than that, and we won't get into that at all. So, like I said, this is an open panel discussion, so we're going to start with some general questions that come up, and we're going to let each of the panelists address it. And then as these questions come up, like I said, if it brings up other questions, feel free to line up at the mic. And when I see someone at the mic, I will just give you the nod, and then we'll go ahead and let you insert questions as needed. So the first question here is, will attribution efforts cause more problems than they solve? And we've done a number of calls on this and talked about it amongst ourselves. But I'll go ahead and let Chris start here, and we'll go and mix it up and give Chris a chance to give his thoughts on that.
I think it's kind of interesting how this stuff has evolved, because we started seeing, we kind of knew that there was something going on, as long as maybe 10 years ago, that, there had to be some sort of interaction at play between, customer just didn't see one ad and make a conversion. And everybody knew that this was going on, and people were seeing multiple ads and they were having multiple clicks, but there's never really been a way of measuring all this stuff until the last, maybe 2 or 3 years. And a lot of these attribution technologies are really, preaching a lot of, they're making big promises and telling you that it's, very easy to immediately know the value of all these channels. But what you find when you start digging into all this data is that it's really difficult and complex, and there's not a single answer out there that really makes all this stuff, very easy to handle. So I think we're very much at the infancy of a lot of this, and a lot of people have to figure out what the true best practices are going to be in this area.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to where we were with site analytics kind of at the beginning of 2000s. People didn't have analytics on their site. They used to, mine their server logs, and there was other ways that you kind of figured out what's going on your site. And as analytics grew, people really, when they first got it, it's like all this interaction on my site. What does it mean? How do I make sense of it? And I think everybody here agrees today you wouldn't want to be without some site-side analytics. Most people are using, a couple products even. And so as we move into attribution, it's kind of compounding the data that you have to analyze. But, and to Chris's point, it's kind of subjective right now, because, we could all look at the same attribution data for a given client and have a different perspective on the value of certain media channels. So one of the concerns that we hear a lot, even from affiliates, is that they don't want to be seen as maybe not as relevant or as important. And the concern comes from somebody making a subjective decision that might cause, a decision, that they could cancel an affiliate channel. We're not going to run affiliates anymore because we don't see the value. So I think there's some concern out there in that sense. Is it could create more problems than it solves?
Yeah, to pick up on what these guys said, I think it is very subjective. You look at, when you start looking at the data and you see all these touch points across different channels, it's really hard to get a clear picture of where the value is. And so it is a little bit scary, I think, for a lot of people. But the bottom line is I think it will evolve. The transparency is good overall for the industry, for people to have that trust factor, to understand what the path is to purchase for consumers, and to really start to analyze that. I think it's good for us in this industry to be taking a look at that early and trying to understand the data, and so that we can become an authority on that, and hopefully be able to have some influence in the educational process as people start to look at attribution data. So it is a little bit scary, but I think as the technology evolves, the picture will become clearer. And I also think that people will still make bad decisions on good data, that you can't stop that. I mean, I think this gives us another level of making that even more stupid to make a bad decision on good data. But I think overall that this will help people make better decisions with their marketing efforts. So, yeah, I think that'll be the end result.
Great. I was going to say, too, we have had a number of discussions on this, and in fact, Chris mentioned to me before that some of the early data is back on the affiliate benchmark study, and he'd mentioned how one of the questions kind of addressed this, and it was about what you're seeing now. Do you feel like your affiliate channel is providing value or not? And can you touch on that a little bit, Chris?
Yeah, sure. I get the question we asked was, now that you're seeing attribution data, do you value your affiliate more, less, or the same? And it was about 32% value affiliates more, and only 13% value affiliates less. The rest of the percentage is broken out into a combination of more and less, which is probably pretty appropriate. And then a big percentage, at least a quarter or more, just don't know yet. And a lot of these people have been doing attribution for 2 or more years. So even if you've been doing it a while, you still might not exactly know whether you're getting more or less out of a particular channel.
And it's fluid too, based on your media buys. Nice thing about affiliate channel is it's pretty consistent as from a source of media. It doesn't have as much ebb and flow other than possibly seasonality, but your paid search and things like that, or display or retargeting, can keep coming in and affect things a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like I deal with clients where ignorance is bliss and ignorance is not bliss. You need to know. I always advise, look, you need to have a range for your affiliate payouts. If you just say, I'm going to pay out X, I'm going to pay out 12%, and I'm going to leave it at that, you're not going to have the flexibility to give bonuses and whatnot. And so I always say, instead of 12, make it 12 to 20%, and then you're not going to be touching that 20% very often. But where value is, you should be able to bump that up there, because ultimately your affiliate channel should be much more profitable than your other channels. Okay, speaking to that was a nice transition, totally on purpose. So how profitable is the affiliate channel? And that's something that attribution can help you get to. Let's start on the other end this time with Scott.
Okay. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into the profitability of the channel. It depends on your product margins, your program terms, et cetera. But overall, I think the general perception is that the affiliate channel is very profitable. That's why just about every e-commerce retailer does it. There's been recent studies that show, from Forrester that were commissioned by Linkshare and Whale Shark Media, that show that the new to file customers is pretty high for the channel. And with affiliate marketing, when merchants or advertisers are doing deduplication, it's really the affiliate channel that really gets deduplicated most of the time. Most of those other channels are getting paid, whether it's cost per email, cost per click, CPM. They're getting paid regardless of the conversion most of the time. So when merchants deduplicate or advertisers deduplicate, it's usually the affiliate that gets cut out. And I think there's a lot more value there that you don't see in that deduplication process, where affiliates come into play, and as the introducer or influencer in the path to purchase, when the email campaign closes or paid search closes. So that's something that I think is interesting to look at when you have attribution reporting, is the overlap between those channels, and our affiliates really coming into play a lot more than you expect when you're just looking at last channel wins. Yeah. And I think that's the case a lot of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at trying to get to that 20% justification from 12, being able to analyze an individual affiliate and their contribution, there could be a significant amount of sales that they're participating in and never getting credit for. So to justify paying them 20, that influence, you're kind of paying for that, and basically in the form of when they do drive the conversions. And I think that's probably the biggest opportunity in the affiliate marketing industry is being able to justify those higher commission rates, not so much on the volume of sales. Because you could be sending me my number one affiliate and sending me no new customers. You're just sending me the same customers every day, and you're always at the end of 10 other channels. And some advertisers will think, what if I didn't work with you? Would I still get that sale? So it's really, to me, a key thing to start analyzing in the attribution mix. There's a lot of good data there.
I think one of the important things to remember is that it's really hard to change consumer behavior, and just by removing a particular channel, if you, for example, take affiliates out of the mix, and we have some merchants who have tested this, you can't change the consumer mindset, and they're still going to do the extra research and they're going to do more searches, but what we found is that they might end up going through more expensive channels, making you less profitable overall. So affiliate is typically your most efficient channel, your greatest ROI. So by removing that channel, what it does is it forces the consumers to go through the comparison engines and more search ads, which are typically more expensive. So we have a fair amount of data and a couple of case studies around those examples.
Okay, great. That was funny too. I've mentioned this in the past where there was a time when I didn't report to our clients impression data because you've got a text link that's probably not going to have an impression because the pixel's not copied onto the page, and so when you're reporting on that impression data, you're almost always underreporting significantly. And so because it didn't match up, I wouldn't report that to clients. But in the last year and a half or so, I have actually started reporting that to clients because there's big value there. Clients need to know that those impressions are being given and that their reach is really, really extended through the affiliate channel as well. Okay, and so how does it compare to other channels? I think gets pretty specific. I've done this analysis myself for clients, and I look at it and say, okay, you've got all these other channels out there, and if your affiliate channel is not one of your top two as far as ROI is concerned, then there's a significant problem. But let's look at that, and let's start with you in the middle this time, Todd.
Well, I mean, most advertisers see affiliate as a significant channel. It's like email to customers, paid search, affiliate are usually somewhere in the top 4. And I think, as I said earlier, one of the things that's nice about an affiliate channel is once you have established those relationships and the results, it's a very consistent source of traffic and sales. It's hard to make it go away. You can't, all your affiliates are not going to drop your links for some reason, right? Unless there was a major problem. But whereas, paid search, you could become outbid or your budgets could run out. Same with display. Email is probably another consistent channel for a marketer. So, there's a lot of value in that channel being something that they can count on all the time. And because, affiliate marketing is kind of top heavy in the sense that kind of the 95-5 rule of 5% of most advertisers' affiliates are driving the vast majority of the sales. For an advertiser or agency, it's much easier to concentrate on those top partners to move the needle and grow sales because you're really probably talking to less than 20 partners on serious opportunities that they can avail versus trying to go after a long tail by throwing a coupon out there and seeing if it drives more volume. It's kind of like the mentality of herding cats. It's not very productive. So to me, I think, if it's done right and it's within the brand and the margins, it's always a great channel for an advertiser.
Scott?
Yeah, I agree. It's it's a pretty black and white channel in terms of it's easy to measure the ROI. It scales seamlessly, and again, I think you get a lot of value out of the affiliate channel that people don't realize because you are just paying for results. A lot of times with that overlap between channels, affiliate marketing is one of the best because you're only paying when it converts. So there's a lot of unseen value there, I think.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, other than in-house list, affiliate is almost always the most efficient channel. It's extremely rare for it to be anything but, and it's usually in the top 3 or 4 overall revenue producing. We've seen anywhere from, an affiliate channel can be anywhere from 15-20% of an overall advertiser's complete online business, all the way up to 40 or 50%. If it's more than that, you're probably not doing enough other online initiatives. But the real value is that it's this guaranteed efficiency. You know exactly what you're going to spend as a percentage of your total sales on an ongoing basis, and it's long term. It's a very long term strategy. It's not this thing that's campaign driven on and off, and you know that it'll be a long term source of revenue.
Okay, great. Now the next question, who gets ultimate credit? This is something that the best practice, to my understanding, and as we've discussed, almost everyone gives the last click the credit. And so you looked at all those other touch points in that one scenario that we had, and you think about all those other scenarios. There is credit that could be spread around, but as far as ultimate credit is concerned, Chris, why don't you touch on that and we'll go this way again.
Yeah, going back to the data of the advertisers we surveyed, of people doing attribution, 80% are all or nothing. It's first click or last click. And only 20% are doing some sort of advanced attribution methodology where they're splitting the commission. And I think it's the most important thing here to remember is that we don't know what right is, and there is no single right answer. You got to really look at your overall business objectives and I think have a lot of internal debate at your company as to what's going to make sense for you, because as Todd mentioned in his introduction, I think there's a lot of people that are going to make very big decisions that may not be the best decisions on some sort of vague assumption of what they think might be right.
So the other thing that's interesting is this whole last click model. That's really saying you're the ultimate closer on the deal. But when you think about attribution, if I spend $1 on impressions, $1 on paid clicks, and $1 to an affiliate, the affiliate gets paid $1, but those other $2 got spent. So my total cost for that conversion in this simple example is $3. So when you talk about attribution modeling, I can say, well, the cost is all weighted to last click. So it really cost me $3. I only paid the affiliate one of those dollars, but my cost was $3 weighted to last click. I could equal it out, 1, 1, 1. I can weight it like 60%, 25%, 15%. I can put it all in the front. So there's a lot of different models that you can play with when looking at it. And when you think back to that slide with all that different media that an advertiser can buy, multiple retargeting channels, multiple paid search campaigns, multiple affiliate networks, email, all of that starts to get really blurry. And when attribution is going to help to try to make sense of all of this data, and it's only kind of through modeling it, putting those costs in and modeling it and playing with it, that you start to get a sense of this data. And that's what we're kind of talking about this today, because, and I said this at a presentation that I did earlier this year, but attribution is inevitable. Everybody is going to be looking at it. Everybody is going to be relying on it. So today you may live in kind of ignorant bliss because there's no attribution, but if you're an affiliate manager, your boss or your vice president might be looking at it, or some analysts. And so you want to try to get in on that and help understand and have a view, because an input on it, because it is something that's gaseous right now, and nobody really, there's no like template. Here, just plug in all your data to Todd's template and it'll show you what your true value of your media is. It's never going to be like that.
Yeah, and I think in our network, the vast majority of the people are giving the last click, credit to the last click. We do have a few merchants. We have developed a system that allows shared attribution. So there are merchants that are doing shared attribution, and we've defined 3 affiliate referral groups, and it kind of follows the same groups as attribution, where it's introducer, influencer, and then we've actually called it a checkout influencer, because those are the 3 groups that people seem interested in learning about. So when they're on our tracking system, they can actually see what types of referrals they're getting and what the makeup is of those 3 groups. And then from there, it is completely subjective. But what we saw before we were able to give our merchant advertisers this technology was they were just making decisions based on assumptions. So they would say, this group of affiliates is coming in and basically cannibalizing our traffic. They're coming in during the checkout process. We don't think there's value there. And we'd ask them, well, what are you basing that on? Well, it's just what we think is happening. So with this referral group system, we're able to actually show them what the touch points are in their affiliate traffic and even across other channels, and where they're coming into play, so they get a better understanding of what the makeup of that traffic is. And then if they decide to, they can do shared attribution. They could split it among those 3 groups, or they could, they can basically come up with the model they want. Most don't do that. Most see that the data actually shows that it's not a big issue. And that's one thing that's been a big win by having that reporting there, is the checkout influencers, which seems to be the big concern, doesn't make up nearly as big a percentage the advertisers thought.
Okay, great. And it kind of goes back to something that Todd said earlier too, where we're kind of at the stage where it was analytics before, and everyone's trying to figure out analytics, and there's different terminology used by different vendors and whatnot, and we're kind of at that stage now with attribution to where people have figured out the analytics side of it, and now attribution is something that, you know, you can make an informed decision now, whereas before it was all based on assumptions. Okay, duplication issues. I think that Scott had mentioned something on duplication, and this is something that I've seen with some of the clients that we manage, where we, depending on the tracking, we'll see it, you know, if we have them in this network, we don't want them in this network because you have the possibility of a duplicate transaction getting through. And even if you put some things in place, that can sometimes sneak through. And I remember hearing about this 6, 8, 10 years ago back at a CJU, you know, somebody was saying, well, I'm on Performix and I'm on CJ, and you can't imagine how many duplicate transactions I'm seeing. And so that is an issue that we're dealing with, and we'll start in the middle of this time. Todd, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of advertisers are running in multiple networks, but they're also buying other media, as we talked about. The affiliate, if they're the last referrer, they get credit. But the consumer could have touched, you know, 2 affiliates. And obviously, if they're in the same affiliate network, the second to the last is not the last. But when they're across 2 affiliate networks, if the advertiser fires both of those network pixels, they have no insight except into their own cookie, and they're going to say that person was second to the last. I see a cookie. I'm taking the credit. So deduplication across affiliate networks is probably the first thing anyone would want. But even with paid search, if I am buying paid search as an advertiser, and the consumer clicks on my paid search ad, doesn't buy, leaves and comes through an affiliate, I'm willing to pay the affiliate, of course. If they come through an affiliate and don't buy, but come back through my paid search, chances are most advertisers would not pay the partner for that. Now, the challenge comes in what logic is being deployed to make that decision. Before tag management solutions existed or deduplication tracking technologies, you'd tell a developer, here's the logic I want you to code into our shopping cart. There was no ability to read if that logic was correct, and the developer probably thought he did it right, and it could be tragically wrong for affiliates or other channels. So it is important, if you need to dedupe, that you have some technology that is kind of what you see is what you get. The logic is there, it's easy to understand, and it works every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of really bad network deduplication solutions, or not solutions, but implementations out there. If you don't really keep on it as the network and really test each implementation, then there's no guarantee that it's going to work properly, and that's difficult to do. So for me, it's refreshing to see some of these tag management solutions come along, because for one, it allows advertisers to more easily test different networks, and you don't have to depend so heavily on your developers to implement these tracking pixels. They can basically turn it on or off within a matter of minutes. That's a huge improvement over what we've been dealing with in the industry for many years. So, and duplication is a huge issue. It's amazing to me that so many advertisers still don't understand that when you go into a second or third network, that you really need to have a solution in place to deduplicate between those networks. A lot of times it's after the fact. You'll have the merchant reach out to you or advertiser and say, what's going on here? We're seeing these sales show up in multiple networks. So, just to kind of illustrate how big that problem can be for one of our smaller merchants in our network, when we have deduplication within our pixel container. We have a tracking system that contains that functionality. And they were basically they had about $1,000 a month in duplicate commissions right off the bat. So and that's for a small to medium-sized merchant. So you can imagine most won't let that go, but then they'll spend hours trying to figure out who was the last network referrer, and that's very prone to error to do it that way, to do it manually.
Or they batch in, they just reverse them later, right? So it's very manual. It's not smart.
Yeah. So having a deduplication solution through some provider that knows how to do it is a great idea.
Chris?
I think when you're trying to wrap your head around all this attribution stuff, this is a great place to start because it's one of the simpler things to try and attack. You know, we've seen it done a lot of different ways, and again, I think you have to ask yourself what's right for your business. A lot of the brands we work with will accept a certain amount of duplication because they know that there are these multiple touch points going on, and they adjust that in their overall ROI acceptability, and they may adjust commission rates or what they pay out in a CPM accordingly. You know, I want to, I guess, ask Todd a question. Just thinking back to some early conversation when you guys were developing Impact Radius, and I remember, you know, you talking about, you know, the reliability of some of these, you know, tag management systems, and that, you know, you're fine everybody putting their tags inside of yours, but you don't want to be inside of somebody else's.
I was actually going to say, I have a word of warning, because not all container tag solutions solve the problem. And I don't like to pick on certain companies, but ad servers typically have been around a long time, and they offer usually a container tag. The problem is, if you look at like Dart for advertisers, it's DoubleClick. That domain has been around so long that it's very prone to having its cookies disabled by software, anti-spyware, antivirus, browser preference, privacy preference on the consumer. So the actual reliability of some container tags can actually reduce what a normal network could track. So you want to be careful that you're using a tag management or a logic system that will keep it even at best, because you definitely can go backwards with some of these systems. And we hate to be in other people's tags because we know we see how much more we can track against the tags that we fire. Because if we see 1,000 sales and the client logs into one of their systems that we're firing a tag for and sees 800, they call us up and go, why is there a difference? I showed the tag 1,000 times. It only caught 800 of the conversions it was supposed to catch, right? So that's a big concern that you need to be aware of and look for.
Yeah, and this actually, as you were talking about that, it made me think one of the reasons we've used Impact Radius for some clients, and I will actually see tracking that happens with Impact Radius that doesn't happen with one of the other major networks. And I've known that other major network had consistently been mistracking by 20, 30% for years and years. I've been the president of the Rocky Mountain Affiliate Marketing Association since '03, and we talk about that. We've talked about these issues over the years, and you will see that discrepancy, and it's either ad server blocking or, you know, any number of things can make it so that there's that gap there, and it varies depending on the merchant, but to be able to have that multiple layers of tracking in place and a true attribution strategy, then you're able to capture that, and it makes it so that you can actually reward your affiliates. Because in the past, sometimes I'd actually see it where we try to find out who the affiliate was. You know, it's like, well, we know this came from the affiliate channel because of some sort of back-end tag that was in place on the merchant side, but I wasn't technically involved enough to where I could close that loop, if you will. And so we'd always look back and we go back to the network, and I'm not going to name any networks or anything, but we go back and say, hey, we know this came from the affiliate channel. Can we try to match this up? And just, you would think that would be in the best interest of the network, but.
Well, and the big challenge, if you're an affiliate, unless you're a loyalty affiliate site where the member is logged into your system and purchases and calls back if it doesn't track because they say, hey, I didn't get my points or my cash back. As an affiliate, when you send a click, you have no insight if it didn't track. If a sale occurred and it didn't track, right? There's no way. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and we're too far away to hear it, we don't know if it made a noise. And so there are issues in this industry around tracking. And every advertiser, well, not every, I would say the vast majority of advertisers, and certainly the top advertisers that most affiliates want to work with, fully intend to pay an affiliate for every valid sale they refer. Unfortunately, sometimes the technology in the middle is not able to do that. And like I said, nobody really can see that a lot of times.
Okay. So that, again, this is affiliate focused, and one of the main things that we can get from attribution is who are my best affiliates and why. And that's something that I've talked with all of these gentlemen over the year, actually the last couple of years about quite a bit. And so if we can, let's start down on the end with Scott on this one.
Yeah, that's, I mean, kind of the short answer is they're all great, right?
They are.
Well, I mean, you know, I could answer this in a lot of different ways. I mean, obviously, the ones that drive significant volume are probably going to be looked at as your best affiliates, but it depends on your brand, kind of the mix of affiliates you want promoting your program. Do you like coupon affiliates? Do you not like coupon affiliates? It really is pretty subjective. Every merchant is going to have a different answer. Every advertiser is going to have a different answer for that question. But I think that they all can provide value in different ways. So you know, if you, and again, I think attribution will help decide, you know, for each brand, what is the kind of affiliate that we prefer? Do we kind of like them all? Do we want, you know, do we like introducers because we get more new to file customers from them? You know, that I think the data will start to show that. So, or do we like coupon affiliates because we're a discount brand and we always have coupon codes on the coupon affiliate site, and we really work that channel to close the deal. I mean, so it's hard to say who the best affiliates are. You know, I think it really depends on the advertiser and their brand.
I just want to say that I think the one thing about having more metrics is that you're able to slice and dice a little bit more. A simple thing just like average order value. Being able to identify individual partners of yours that have a higher average order value consistently. Why is that? Is it because they're coupons? And maybe when a consumer gets a coupon, what the hell, I'll throw 3 more things in the cart since I got this deal. So that can offset potentially some of the downside to relying on having to drive that with a coupon. Other things, as he talked about, is new to file. What percentage of these conversions are new to file versus returning customer? Another thing is how much media does that affiliate touch? If that affiliate, 100% of their sales doesn't touch any of my other media, that's a great affiliate because it's the absolute cost is the CPA that I'm paying them. Whereas if another affiliate is driving the same amount of volume, same average order value, same mix of new to file, is touching about 10 other media buys, my cost is borne across all of that media. So what's really interesting to me, one of the coolest things to see, is the percent of solo conversions that certain publishers or media partners send an advertiser. You know, if it's 60%, that means 60% of their traffic is only seeing that affiliate and coming to that advertiser and buying. So, you know, again, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of, what I think about attribution is when you log into your affiliate network or your analytics package, I look at that as 2-dimensional, you know. Affiliate A is a line, and affiliate B is a line, and paid search is a line. And there's metrics across: clicks, conversions, sale, average order value, costs. When you start looking at attribution, it suddenly becomes 3-dimensional. And you can look at it at all these different angles. And that's why we're talking about being so subjective. You know, we're all looking at the same data, but we're looking at it from different angles, or we're thinking different things while we're looking at it. So there's a lot of things that can really influence this, and it's just over time that it's kind of like how like the movie in The Matrix, when that guy was looking at the screen and he's like, what do you see in there? And he's like, oh, you got to stare at it for a while before you start seeing, you know, blonde, brunette, redhead. You know, it's data that you got to constantly analyze to really start to understand.
Affiliates are not your children. You should not love them all the same. You know, I think this has evolved. It used to be whoever drove the most sales, that's my best affiliate. But you know, as you've heard throughout this panel, we're starting to look at a lot more metrics. If you're a subscription product, you absolutely should know which affiliates drive the longest term subscriptions, because that's going to mean the most long-term true revenue for your business. You know, if you're a retailer, you absolutely should be looking at things like average order size and new versus returning customers. Or, you know, what percentage, you know, what product types are these affiliates driving versus these other affiliates? You might have certain affiliates that are driving much more profitable sales because of the types of products they're purchasing. It is not a one-size-fits-all. You really got to know what those key metrics are and evaluate your affiliates and pay them accordingly based on those metrics.
Okay, great. And I've actually seen in my business, one affiliate was actually driving a much larger average order value than others, and I was asked about that at a networking event, and the owner of the network was like, wow, this affiliate's average order value is so much larger, and why might that be? And it happened to be because it was international sales. So the international purchase was, if somebody's going to spend that much on shipping, then that average order value is going to go up, and I was just impressed with the way that the eyes got widened. Wow, that average order value is really much higher than everyone else's. Okay, so what is the value of introducers, influencers, and closers? And like I said, there's some terminology that is used, and this is just what we used for this purpose. You may hear them a little bit differently, but the concept of introducers, influencers, and closers. And let's start back on this end.
This is, again, I think, one of those interesting debates because, I hear so much, a massive percentage of attribution is going to last click, but then you have these conversations with brands and they also feel like, oh, I don't want to work with coupons because all they're doing is standing up at the end and saying, here, get this discount, and they would have purchased anyway. So there's a real conflict there. And I'm also looking at the way that the introducers are now getting, if you're doing display advertising, that was always the lowest ROI. It's the most expensive, and one of the reasons is because it's typically an introducer. It's the first time you hear of that brand. Now, I think they're almost getting too much credit in a lot of cases because I'm seeing, a massive percentage getting going to the introducer, and there's now view-through tracking, which essentially gives credit for a sale if you just see the ad and never click, but eventually purchase. I'm not buying into that completely. I mean, I think there's some degree there, but I think there's a shift in the other direction where it's getting too much. And then when you're looking at the influencers, this is where the data gets extremely murky because it's very, very common to have 10, 15, 20 influencers within a purchase path. And I don't know how you start to dissect that and say that this influencer was more valuable than this other.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here is most sales need all of it. You think about yourself as a consumer, there's the leaning forward. I know I'm going to buy something right now. I'm just going to fire up my laptop. I'm going to be checked out in another 2 minutes. And then there's kind of just getting aware that a brand or product exists. Then suddenly months or even years later thinking I might be in the market for this product, like flooring or something, right? I mean, it's not something that you buy on a regular basis. So, in the back of your mind, you might go, I've never had to buy flooring before, but suddenly the name iFloor is in my mind, and I'm going to search for that, or I'm going to Google for it, and I'm going to see who else sells flooring besides iFloor. So really, a lot of people look at the introducers, they kind of put it at the top of the funnel where you're getting brand awareness, CPM buys, impression, display type of stuff. But it's usually very critical, more so with a brand that people are going to remember. If you're, the best floor store online.com, you might not have a very strong brand, but you might do really well because you have great prices, and so you don't have a lot of marketing budget. And when people do find you, you can give them a good price and pay a good commission. So that's my rant on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they all have an important piece of the conversion funnel. It's introducers are the first touch point, so that's important for people to become aware of your brand. Influencers, there are going to be usually multiple influencers, and they all have an important piece of bringing the brand recognition back to the consumer, or even bringing them back to you physically with a click. And then the closers, obviously, there's no arguing that's an important component as well. So it's I think where attribution may have some effect on this is where at kind of the top of the funnel where you're kind of unclear about, say, like social media, where that comes in, or what importance that has in the conversion funnel. I think attribution may be able to help with that and more with the brand awareness phase, and it may help marketing departments justify larger budgets for that interaction. If you see a lot of influence from social, it's kind of hard to measure that in a lot of ways right now because they're usually not the closer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So then, we want just a kind of a quick shift here, but it says, once you're able to illustrate the benefits and value of each channel or partner, then what? So now you've talked to the merchant or your client or whomever it may be, and you say, okay, now we know what the value is. What can you do? I mean, again, we talked about, I was at a session earlier today, and they talked about incentivizing, which is not a word, but we like to make it a word, your affiliates to do more and to set up extra percentage and everything else. And sometimes it's tough to convince the client to do that and or the merchant to do that. You ever find that it's difficult to say, you know what, we've found this out now. We know what the benefit or the real value is here. Do you find that it's kind of difficult to get people to make decisions, even though now they're quote unquote informed?
Well, I think even before we had access to all these tools, we were still, moving in this direction. We would have that same exact conversation with the brand and say, what is your most important metric? If it's average order size, then pay affiliates more who drive higher average order size. If it's new customers, give them a bounty for each new customer that you drive. And we didn't even have, any remote, it's just common sense. It's do what's right for your business. And I think you have to keep going back to that, even if you don't have access to these fancy tools. Even when you do have access to them, it's not providing you that crystal clear decision maker. It's not a magic 8 ball of telling you exactly what you need to do. You still have to have those conversations inside your company to determine what's ultimately going to be right.
Yeah, I mean, once you have the data, you might not do anything with it, right? I mean, it's more reassuring, or it's okay. This isn't a serious issue, right? Okay, we see it now.
I think people are assuming that they must immediately change something radically because they now have access to this information, and I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like even just paying on keywords. We know what our cost is on a keyword, and it's gone up or it's gone down. What do we do about it? I mean, this is just information you always want to be on top of, and then when the nice thing about knowing this data is someone comes and knocks on your desk and says, I got a question about the affiliate channel or about this channel. I want to, where can you help the CEO understand how profitable or valuable this channel is? You've got this 3-dimensional data set now where you can put together a much more compelling presentation to champion this channel. So a lot of it is used internally, right? It's just, I'm an important person at this company. I have an important channel, and I manage it really well, and I have great data, and I understand how it interacts with all the other channels that I don't manage, and I can see where I play a role in that. So that's probably, or if you're an agency and you're trying to justify your services to a client, right? That's good information. So it doesn't always trickle out to, okay, let's lower the affiliate commission on this guy, and let's keep this guy the same, and let's give this guy a raise, right? That's not always how it's going to manifest itself.
Scott?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a couple different things you could do with the data. It may show that you have a lot of money going into the wrong thing, and you can rebudget, or you can shift your budget around, or you can, in certain cases, you may want to look for a solution if they're, but bringing it back within the affiliate space, having those referral groups is, I think, an eye-opener for a lot of the advertisers. They can see that, wow, the introducers and influencer groups are a bigger part of the pie than I thought. And as Todd said, they may choose not to do anything. I think that's the case we've seen a lot of times. But having that data and seeing the overlap between different channels, I think is really going to help the affiliate channel, because it does show the value. It shows that the affiliates are coming into play a lot of times where other channels close. And that may be something you want to look at as well. I mean, if you have a specific affiliate or a group of affiliates that seems to come in as an introducer or influencer, and the email campaigns or paid search are closing the deal a huge percentage of the time, you may want to look at bumping the commission rate for that affiliate, or if you have a solution for paying those in those specific cases for impacting that conversion.
Okay. Now, we're coming to about 10 minutes left in the session time, and we do have a couple more questions that we could, as a panel, discuss, but I want to leave everyone a chance to step up to the mic and ask specific questions. It's not often that you get these three minds together in the same room and can ask them specific questions. So anyone has a question, please feel free to step up to the mic. If not, we'll just continue on with our own, let you guys listen. But it's always better to have someone that anyone in the audience would like to step up and ask a question.
I actually have several, but we will
Don't
start
we
with
all?
just one. Just from your guys' experience, can you give concrete examples of attribution models that people on your networks or merchants that you managed have implemented that you think are really solid? So people who have looked at this data and made what you believe is a good decision.
That's the one thing it's, like I said, we could work for the same advertiser, and we could each have our own preferred way of looking at the modeling out the costs or the revenue that we get across it. Chris may be buying more display and feel very confident that we're just going to go with weighting it all to the initiator. Someone running the affiliate channel is going to want to take credit for all affiliate and hopefully last click, and then but I would say a blended mix is probably the best. Well, I think the first thing to look at is last click, for sure last click, because it's just going to tell you who's getting credit, and then what else is involved. When this affiliate is credited with last click, what other media supported him, if any? When paid search wins, what other channels or affiliates are involved? And just start, you kind of got to take little baby steps. So I think that's probably that's the first way I would look at it.
I've seen ones that I don't like. I honestly can't say that I've seen one that I think is perfect. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you to use it because it might have been right for them, but I don't think it might not necessarily be right for you.
It depends on your business too. Like if you're doing direct response or lead gen, a lot of times all those efforts, they almost weight it to first click. Like you look at Cake platform, they just added the ability to track to last click. It was always tracking on first click. So because a lot of direct response and lead gen guys were using that, and so there wasn't a lot of media involved typically. So they want to see who saw it, clicked it, and then it converted. Whereas in retail or more where the buying decision is a little bit more thought out or sporadic even, you can be across so much more media. So it also depends on your business model.
The other elephant in the room is what happens once you start talking about multiple devices. So I did my first search on a mobile phone, then I go to an affiliate on a tablet, and then I complete my sale on my laptop. Like, what happens then?
Yeah, that's very hard to.
That's a can of worms. I don't know if we have time to cover that.
Yeah. Nobody's
else?
tracking that, by the way. Anybody that wants to track it.
All right, we have another question.
Yeah, my name's Aaron Austin. I'm actually from Carousel Checks and worked closely with Scott and David from AvantLink implementing on a merchant side, running multiple networks and multiple brands, and they helped us set up because we were basically one of that small to medium companies that Scott was mentioning earlier that I was doing the manual deduplication process, and it was a mess. And not only are you upsetting affiliates, but you're upsetting me because you're spending that time and effort where it could be used otherwhere. But my question for you guys is to talk a little bit on the attribution models for multiple networks. I know we implemented an Avant Metrics for us because we're running ShareCell, CJ, GAN, AvantLink, LinkShare, where we're trying to put in a 30-70 model, and where we have closers and introducers. But then if it's all from GAN, you get 2 affiliates, or if you have one from GAN, one from AvantLink, how are you implementing that? So you guys talk a little bit about the, I guess, attribution model that could possibly be set up on multiple networks and the benefits or disadvantages of even having that?
Yeah, I mean, I can hit on that first. As you know, it's incredibly complicated to try to do an attribution solution across multiple networks. Some just don't support that type of technology. They have their third-party pixel or a third-party cookie, and they're going to say that's the authoritative sources of who gets credit, right? The last affiliate to hit that gets credit. So, I mean, there's other networks that allow you to pass them a click ID that says, I want to fire this pixel twice and split the commission across these 2 affiliates. So It really depends on the network and technology. I believe you've set up where the checkout. Well, we're kind of rebranding the terminology, but the checkout influencer gets 30% of the, or is it half of the commission that you're paying them? 30. And then if there is an introducer or influencer, the last introducer or influencer is the other 70%. And basically, Carousel Checks decided to do that because they were unsure of the value of those checkout influencer affiliates, and they were considering removing them completely, I think. And that's where the solution can become a win, is when you have those merchants that we're basing on, on assumptions, we're just going to remove this whole class of affiliates. Showing them the data, and maybe it's not as bad as they think. A lot of times it's not. And then also, rather than just lowering their commissions or kicking them out completely, now they can get paid a smaller commission for what the type of referral that the merchant thinks is less valuable, and then still the full commission for being the other two referral groups. So we feel like that was a big win for the affiliates because it allows them to still get the high commission most of the time rather than being removed completely from the program. But to get back to your question, I don't know that there are many solutions that work across multiple networks. And I'm not sure there's many networks that provide a solution even on their own.
Well, for us, first I think if you're tracking two networks, you need to be able to see sub-IDs. You can't see a channel as a whole thing when there's many in it. So you need to be able to get that granularity. And then obviously you can see affiliate A from Commission Junction was second to the last, and affiliate X from Linkshare was the last. And then you can do that analysis. I will say, and I know Scott knows this, I'm not a fan of splitting commissions, and I think you should look at the data and make a decision to change their commission for a period of time and not have it be dynamic. You can't go back to Google and say, hey, we had 1,000 clicks from you last month, and it was really more of an influencer than a closer, so we think we should get about 60% back on that. It's not going to happen. If the affiliate's the last referrer, they're the one that won the conversion. And telling somebody, well, yeah, but there was another affiliate before you, and it's not very clear how all this works from the affiliate's perspective, why should I be? I think most affiliates would rather be paid for what they did at the rate that they can expect and not have a variable rate. I don't know if there's any affiliates in here that like the idea of being paid for being second to the last or being paid less when you're last because of some consumer behavior, but it seems a little mushy to me, and I think it's better to look at the data and test it and say, okay, we feel maybe this affiliate provides less value, and we're going to lower their commission overall by 30% or whatever, and maybe they'll stop working with us, or maybe they'll continue. But to kind of have this dynamic shell game, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it's fair.
That question was actually a reminder to me that you have to really look at the differences between the technology players in this space because there's a lot of different types out there. Attribution tracking and modeling, like a clear sailing, is different than a tag management system, which is like a tag man. And both of these guys are affiliate networks with a tag management functionality piece to it. So there's a lot of different things, tools out there that will deliver you different types of information. And I tend to agree with Todd's philosophy for right now. You could ask me this question a year from now, but I don't think we can scientifically prove that every single time that there are multiple people involved, you should be splitting the commissions based on this mathematical formula. We've seen just too many variables in there, and I would rather see a brand or a client make a bigger strategic decision that at the end of the day, I'm willing to pay 10%, and even if that means that everybody gets 5%, I'm going to pay my affiliates 5%, and I'm going to double pay, then I guess subjectively splitting in certain scenarios. Yeah.
And we are kind of up against it now because I'm looking at my clock and it says 3 o'clock straight up, and so if it feels like this is kind of tip of the iceberg,
It's just
it
getting
is.
good.
Yeah, we've really just scratched the surface.
With a bathroom break, I could go for 2 more hours.
It could be fun because, as we talk, we know, even some of the calls we've been on, they could go on. There's a lot to learn, a lot to discover in this space, and so we'll get to the end here. I've got a couple of references here. Performance Marketing Association did a really good, was it a 3-part series? I think it was a 3-part series on attribution in the spring that would be a good place to reference. And eConsultancy also did one. And I know they're long URLs. It'd be nice. I probably should have done a bit.ly or a tiny URL for that. But I know that slides will be available later.
Google is your friend.
Yeah, Google is your friend. But these guys will be available for questions afterwards. And like he said at the beginning, if you want to go to that Event Method app and fill out a survey and let us know how we did, we'd much appreciate it. And thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.